KTRH News Time is 8:17, and joining us right now, one of my favorites, conservative political commentator Bay Buchanan. Bay, welcome back to Houston's Morning News.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you very much. I'm always delighted to be with you all.
You know what, Bay, I want to start with, before we get to the debate, let me start with the endorsement of Chris Christie, Mitt Romney's campaign, getting the endorsement from Chris Christie. I want to reach a couple of things that are on our Facebook page. Lisa says, hopefully it's the beginning of the end for Mitt Romney. And Roseanne writes, Bobby Jindal endorsed Perry. Does a Christie endorsement mean that much? No. An endorsement by Marco Rubio and Jan Brewer is 100 times more meaningful, especially to Perry. How do you see this endorsement of Chris Christie for the Romney campaign as opposed to endorsements that Perry has already received?
Well, you know, both of them have very impressive endorsements. I think a lot of people dismiss the Jindal one simply because they're neighboring governors, you know, and you work closely together, and I'm sure you develop friendships. But at the same time, Jindal's enormously respected in the party, and so I think some people would be impressed by that and maybe consider Perry because of it. Same goes with Christie. Christie endorsed Romney 4 years ago, so it really wasn't a surprise to me that that's the way he went. But in those 4 years, Christie's name has become huge in the party, and you know, the fact that so many people wanted him to get into the race, money people. I think it will translate for Mitt money. That's where it's going to that's going to be big and significant there. And then there's a lot of people that see now the establishment, the eight are chosen, and the establishment is beginning to move. The big names are beginning to move. I think Christie will end up, as a result of Christie's moving, I think you'll start seeing other major figures endorsing Mitt as they kind of close the ranks and decide he's the one that can beat Obama.
All right, and I'm going to ask you in just moments who you think can beat Obama and what you thought of last night's performance by Governor Rick Perry. Conservative political commentator Bay Buchanan joining us this morning. We'll get back to Bay in moments, but first,
back to Matt Patrick and your morning news.
KTRH News Time is 8:22. I've often been accused of the same thing, but not by conservative political commentator Bay Buchanan, who joins us right now. Bay, welcome back. Bay, let me play something for you. Let me get your thoughts on Governor Perry last night. Take a listen.
This treasure trove that America is sitting on and getting America independent on the domestic energy side. It's time for another American Declaration of Independence. It's time for energy independence.
Governor Perry talking about his jobs plan. Apparently, it is around energy, the energy corridor here in the United States. I think that's excellent. He didn't roll out a lot. He's going to talk more about this on Friday. But you know what, Bay, I don't hear the passion in his voice. He still sounds unsure of his jobs plan.
Yeah, you know, Matt, you're absolutely right. He made, you know, last night I wanted to say, you know, speak up. Right. You know, sure, they didn't call him right away, but look what Newt does. Look what Santorum does. They get right in there. They show they're interested. They want to get their side out and make their points, and they're polite as they just, you know, say to the others, I don't agree with you, but you can see the passion that you have, a good word. And I wanted to say, take some notes, fella. He looked like he was the kid in class that didn't want to be called on, you know, just like, maybe nobody will notice me. I think the energy thing is a very good point, but, you know, and even when he raised it at one stage, he at one point he said, well, all those other policies, they don't matter. Well, yes, they do. This whole thing's not going to be solved by one. So he showed an interest in just not talking about anything but his one thing, which I think also hurt him. As good as it is, there's other aspects of this economy that have to be touched as well.
Yeah, you know, and you're absolutely right. And that's the thing, you know, that I see with Rick Perry, and my heart goes out to him. And last night, I was literally in my, it's like watching your child perform on stage.
Isn't
you're like,
that the truth?
Come on! But, you know,
I started, you know, I'm not, you know, I kind of tend to lean towards Romney, I'll admit. But I have felt sorry for Rick Perry in the last debate and again in this debate. I think he has a lot to offer. I think he's a good alternative to Romney for the millions that do want an alternative. I love a good battle in a primary. I think it's good for all the candidates, especially the nominee. But Perry isn't providing that for those who want to see that. And so Kane has now taken him, and that's going to be very tough for him to come back up.
Just real quick, in the time that I have, Bay, a lot of people have written Kane off. Even though he's surging in the polls, he just doesn't have the organization. Do you think Kane's got staying power?
Well, I don't. But I'll tell you one thing. Being in the business as long as I have, you never, ever underestimate a populist. Because when you start picking up that kind of steam, they can roll right over you without the money and without the organization. It's just people say, I like the guy. Ronald Reagan did it.
Yeah.
And I just, I always say, keep your eye, just keep your eye. I think there's good reason to think that he's not going to be able to do it. but last night I think he was weakened as his 999 plan got a little more examination, and he showed he didn't have a lot of depth in other areas.
Bay, it is always a pleasure to have you on. I don't know if there's any better than conservative political commentator Bay Buchanan.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Look forward to having you back.